respected Drukpa masters, monks, nuns, and Honorable Yabyum, Excellency, all the distinguished guests. It's my pleasure to share a little bit about the art of generosity, or in other words, in our Himalayan language, we talk about Chimbatang, which means giving to others, also includes offering, sharing one's wealth and resources. And before I begin the formal kind of the talk, I would like to share two instances of what generosity has meant for me in my life. So when I remember very clearly that when I was very young, Mayumla, the mother of His Holiness Gyalwa Drukpa, and my teachers told me that if you want to become rich, you have to be generous. So being a child who believes 100% what our elders say, and I especially have a tendency to believe whatever the people I respect and love says. So I remember that when I was when my pocket money is about to finish, sometime when my parents come, I used to get 100 rupees of pocket money. And when my pocket money is about 5 rupees to 10 rupees, then I think that now my pocket money is about to be exhausted. So I used to give these 10 rupees to other people. I used to ask other monks, do you want money? And I used to give it. And I can say from my experience that somehow or other, within 1 or 2 days, I always used to get another 100 or 200 rupee. Someone will come and give it to me. So it is, even up to now, many people will not believe it. Though there has been some scientific research, which I think we will show later, it has always been my experience that if you are generous, but of course with the wisdom, the generosity leads to betterment to everybody, including yourself. And the second story I would like to share is that one time when I was around 13 years old, my guru gave me a expensive watch, which was expensive during that time. And immediately after that, another, someone nearby told my guru that he's just a 13-year-old boy. If you give such expensive watch, he will spoil that watch. And immediately my guru said, don't say like that. Once you have given something to someone, it belongs to that person. Whether he breaks it or whatever he does it, that is up to him. Once you've given, means you have given it. And that lesson stayed in my, up till now, one of the biggest lessons I have learned about being generous. Because I often hear in our Himalayan region, we have a saying that, yes, that person is very generous, but then later they will, in our, especially in Bhutan, we say, Tinkeni, which means they remind you how generous I have been to you. Last year I give this to you, that year I give, if they keep reminding of how generous they have been to us, every time we remind others of our kindness and generosity, it kind of diminishes the kindness and generosity that we have shown or others have shown to us. So these are two kind of experience, my personal experience. And also when I kind of read, watch the social media, read watch and try to learn from them, learn from it, I also understand that practice of generosity is not only from a spiritual point of view, but it is also talking about what kind of relationship we have with the money, how we look at the wealth, how do we define wealth. It is said that, majority of the arguments that the husband and wife have is usually about the finances in many cases. And similarly also, in terms of defining pursuit of wealth. Many of us, we have spent a lot of our life dedicated to career. And many times, pursuit of the career means pursuit of the wealth. Then how do we define what is the wealth? Is it 100,000? Is it 1 million? Is it 2 million? How do we define what is the wealth? And how can we define that now I am a wealthy, I can be content? Because it is very relative, depending on the region, depending on which part of the world you are in. Even within the same country, whether you live in the city or the rural, amount of wealth will mean different things. And also it will also depends on who we compare ourselves to. So that is why understanding the wealth and how we view the wealth and how that affects our life, our pursuit, almost 70% of our life we dedicate to our career and the work. And so the understanding the way we look at the wealth has a lot of impact in our personal life, in our relationships. And also, there's a very interesting saying in the Himalayan region that when someone is generous, don't go to that person and ask again and again. That generous person will also get tired. Right? Similarly, there's also in our Himalayan maybe it's in every part of the world, but Himalayan region, sometimes I hear, I don't want to give donations. But they are all giving donations, so I feel very embarrassed. So I feel that I have to give donations. So when we give with that kind of thinking, from a spiritual point of view, we don't get any merit. And at the same time, it also builds up a resentment. So that's why then we often have a talk about there's too much of this spiritual event going on. They must have come again for a donation. And then in the larger context, we again, the topics like, it is very expensive to practice the Buddhism, So all of these, I think, can be addressed through understanding the practices of the generosity. And today, most of my talk, I will be based on the teachings of Gampopa, who was a great master and disciple of the Milarepa. So from his teachings will be my reference point that I will be talking about. So firstly, on the slide number 2, what are the types of generosity or a chimpa? It is said that there are 3 types of generosity. One is giving wealth, and second is giving fearlessness. That can mean protecting someone's life, protecting someone from danger, helping someone overcome the challenges they are facing. This is also called generosity of giving fearlessness. And the third type of the giving is called giving dharma, or in a layman term, it means giving wisdom, knowledge, compassion, so that other people's life improves. I was told by one of the one friend of mine I know, he told me that when he was young, he used to believe that the most important is to be generous through food and clothes. And I believe his father used to love building temples, and then one day his father told him that, yes, it is very good that you are, very generous to people, you give food and clothes, but the food that you give in the morning will disappear in the evening. But through the building of a temple, and through that temple, if you are able to, fulfill the people's mind and heart with the wisdom and compassion, that will transform their life, their family's life, and the whole community and the nation will be transformed. That is why he not only encourages people to be generous in terms of giving food and clothes, etc., but also, creating education centers where wisdom and compassion can be developed. So that is why giving Dharma is also a third kind of a generosity. Then the next slide. And also, it is said that when we give, when we are generous, there are 4 things we have to be aware of. First is impure motivation. When we give something, what is our motivation? Is it because we want to compete with somebody else out of sense of competition that someone is giving, so I should also give to look better than others in the eyes of society? Shall I give for the fame so that I'll be recognized as the most charitable, most generous and kind person? Or am I giving money so that I can influence that person to harm someone that I do not like? So ultimately, these things look like a very generous and very positive action, but because of the wrong motivation, these can also lead to actually harming others. And the impure material are, when we give something, we also have to know that whatever we are giving, is it beneficial to the ones we are giving, or is it harmful to the one we are giving? It is said that if it is beneficial, if I quote the text, if something helps other person, even if poison is a medicine, even the poison should be given. If it's a delicacy, if it will not help, this should not be given. When one is bitten by a snake, cutting the finger can benefit and save life. Buddha said that even if it makes one uncomfortable, helpful things should be done. So I think here also, I think we can understand that. For example, when we are generous to our children, to others, we have to understand that when we are generous, what will that person who receives our wealth, what will he or she or our children will do with that wealth? Will he or she, are they in a mature enough age to use that wealth to better his or her life? Or will it use it for maybe consumption of intoxicant, for drug, or for other things which will actually harm the other person in the long run? So that is why, when we define whether we should give something to or not, it is said that that fact that we are generous is the compassion. But if the compassion doesn't have a wisdom, then that generosity is like a blind generosity, where your consequence of generosity will actually be harmful to the others. And then the second is the impure recipients. Even when we want to share our wealth and resources, we have to also understand what is the intention of others. If they have a wrong, negative intention with the wealth that we share, resources we share, if they want to do something to harm others, harm other beings, that should be avoided. If they are mentally unsound, they should be avoided. If whatever we give, if actually harms others, so that too should be avoided. So that is the impure recipient. And then the fourth one is the impure method, which means that when we are giving to others, we have to give with a sense of respect to another human being, not with a sense of superiority because of past good karma, because of certain circumstances. Right now we are in a privileged position. Maybe we are doing well. But in a life is full of ups and downs. And every day, world circumstances, country circumstances, financial circumstances, political circumstances, personal life circumstances, health circumstances are constantly going through the change. So we don't really know. Today our sun of happiness might be rising, but tomorrow other people's sun might be rising and our sun might be setting. So that is why when we are helping others, it should not be with a sense of arrogance, which will again diminish not only the merit, but also the value of our generosity. That is why giving in a disrespectful manner is called the impure method. The next slide. There. Then the right way of giving is with the motivation to benefit others, to benefit the country, for the happiness and well-being of everyone. And the pure material is whatever we are giving, we have to make sure that it doesn't harm others. And the pure method is with the giving giving with the respect, with the kind words. And then the pure recipients, often it is said that in our Buddhist cultures and traditions, we have, we are all very familiar with offering to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, offering to the masters. But it is not enough emphasized that Buddha actually taught about the 3 pure recipients to whom we should be generous to. The first one is definitely the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, masters and teacher, and we respect them because of their inner quality. We offer to Buddha statue because Buddha's statue represents wisdom and compassion. And by offering is a gesture of admiration so that we ourselves can also aspire to develop these qualities. And the second, the recipient, it is called to one's parent. So Buddha has said, not only towards Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, but to one's parent. When we came into this world, we came with no bank balance, no education, not even able to speak or move. But it was our parent that took care of us, that fed us, clothed us. So to looking after your parent, giving to your parents is one of the greatest sources of merit. So the looking after one's parent is called equal to offering to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And Buddha has said our parents are the fourth jewel after Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. And then the third recipients of generosity are the beings who are suffering. If someone is going through a great hunger, great pain, even our smallest bit of help can mean a life or death to them. But giving to someone who has already have enough, who don't really need it, will not make that much of a difference. That is why these 3, Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, because of their great quality, one's parents because of their kindness to us. And also I think it's important to note, especially for our Himalayan culture, is that how we treat our parent is how we are teaching our children to treat us. Right? There is a story in the Amarchita Katha which many of you may have read. When I was young, there was no YouTube, so we used to read a lot of comics. So there was one story where I think, a man with a young son got married, and then the young wife was very tired of taking care of the older parent. So after her constant kind of, influence, one day he wanted to take his his parents to the forest and leave them there and dig a earth and put them there. Then his young son also wanted to go with the grandparents. And then when he was digging a hole, when his son asked what you were doing, the son said that, oh, because my parents are old, your grandparents are old and we are unable to take care, so we are going to put them here. So when he was busy digging the hole, after a few minutes he couldn't find his young son. And then later when he looked around, he saw that his son was also digging a small hole. Then he said, what are you doing? He said, oh, when you get old also, Daddy, I'm going to put you here. I'm readying it from now. So that is why, he understood the consequences of how he treats his own parents. His family will be learned by our children. It is said that more than the verbal instruction, children learn through what they are able to see with their own eyes. So that's why one's parent and the beings who are suffering. So these are the 3 recipients of the generosity. Now, why do we practice generosity? What kind of benefit can we expect? For that, slide number 7. Buddha has said that for everything in the world, either you have to be believer in the creatorship, like the other, I fully respect those views, but most of the religion, they talk about creatorship. That means that somebody up there is kind of defining your destiny, writing your destiny, our destiny, what is going to happen to this world, what is going to happen in your personal life. So there's nothing much that we can do except the pray. But being a Buddhist, Buddha has said that your own actions, positive or negative action, creates the impact in your individual life. What happens to a country, to the society, depends on the collective action of that country or that society. So that is why Buddha has said that being generous creates the cause and condition for one to be wealthy. And coincidentally, I also saw one talk where one of the Harvard professor was also saying that in their research over the 20 years, they have found that when you are generous, whatever dollar you give, $1.60 come back to you in subsequent years. And that is on the slide number 8. Howard professor Arthur C. Brock, he said that the more you give to charity, the richer you get. You find it in subsequent years. And when you give money away, you become a problem solver and your mind changes. People who solve problems and give their money away are people who feel more effective and they earn more money. So, that is one of I think the most common kind of the reason that we as a Buddhist generally know about why we have to be generous, because generosity creates the cause and condition to be wealthy. Through generosity, we can help others, we can benefit others, we can connect with others. That is one of the common kind of the knowledge that we have. Now there is also a second kind of a deeper reason. For example, if we say that, what is the reason of the Buddha, for example, he practiced generosity. Why? Is it because he wanted to elevate the poverty in the world? If that is the case, even though Buddha has got enlightened, there are still so many poor people in the world. So what is the real reason we practice generosity? So we say that short-term results are the, receiving the wealth, generating the wealth. But the real reason why Buddhist practitioners practice generosity is actually to let go of free us from the illusionary concept. What are the illusionary concepts that practice of generosity is supposed to help us with? On the slide number 10. From a Buddhist term, many of us may have heard about nothing existing as it appears to be, everything is your mind, everything is emptiness. What are we talking about? We are talking about the illusory concept. So it is said that our concepts are like a mirror, and our experiences are like the reflection in the mirror. For example, if we are looking at one person, but if you love that person, when you see that person, you will feel a sense of warmth, sense of friendship, sense of joy. And at the very same time, someone standing next to you dislikes that person extremely, he or she will get an experience of unhappiness, of anger, and the sadness when seeing that person. So our concept of who that person is, whether that person our friend or enemy, gives us the experience or reflected back at us in the form of happiness, sadness, friend and enemy, etc. Further illustrations are shown on the page, slide number 11. For example, even if there's $1 million in front and a bag of bones, a human being will definitely go for the $1 million. Even though if you really look at it directly, $1 million, you can't eat it. In some ways, dog is smarter. You can at least chew the bone, make a bone soup, but you can't, eat the paper, you can't. But we have a concept that $1 million, is a value. It has a certain value. And it is further enforced because of the societal, the concept is shared with the society at large. So they also believe in that. So when our illusions are supported by the majority, it feels more real and more, the more kind of the more real. So similarly, if you are a very beautiful girl, someone will definitely admire you. But if there's a tiger looking at the beautiful girl, it is hardly likely the tiger will fall in love with the girl, but rather see her as a next meal or a breakfast, lunch, or a dinner, right? Depending on the perception.
And similarly, on the slide number 12, you know, when we are a child, we are playing with our sand castles. If someone comes and break it, we will say, please don't break it. This is my house. And the pain that we feel, the fear, the unhappiness that we feel is exactly equal to when we get older and we have a bigger sand castle and somebody comes to take it away. Maybe it's a distraction, maybe it's the mortgage, maybe it's the bank that's going to take it away. We will feel the same pain because, the objects don't have a definition. Objects never say, I am a house, I am a gold, I am a dollar, I am a valuable, I am a beautiful, I am ugly, I am important, I am not important. All of these concepts are human concept, our concept that we apply on external objects or beings or experience. And then according to these concepts is reflected back as us in how we feel. That is why it is said that world is, how you experience the world depends on how you perceive the world, right? That's why in Nepal we have very famous song, no? Phulko ankama, phulai sansara, kara ko ankama, kara is sansara, no? Kanta ko ankama. So this is talking about how your perception is reflected back at us. And and in a one way, even though we may not be someone who really wants to pursue spiritual practices, we are not religious, maybe we are not that into it, I still think it's very important to understand how our concepts, are like the mirror and our experiences are like the reflection. That is why in this day and age, because of the social media, because of the connectivity, we are all, without realizing it, we are all receiving teaching. We are all being taught the definition of somebody else's idea of happiness, somebody else's idea of a success. Maybe in the social media, we see that going to the Mount Everest is a happiness. And maybe it is. Or maybe, when you are halfway, you will regret that you came to Mount Everest and you will miss your warm home and comfortable bed, right? But maybe, in order to fit with the society, there are many things which society and our own concept have told us is happiness, is success, and we pursue it. And when we pursue it, it is not so happy or not for a while. We feel empty. We feel it was not as much as I expected. But, those of us who are smart, we pretend that we are happy so that we can fit in with the rest of society. Those who are not smart, they express it and then they are called, they have a mental health problem. They are depressed, right? So those who are able to hide their suffering, hide their disappointment with their own conceptual illusions, breaking down, disappointing them, I think that is many ways so-called, us, the normal people. So that is why when we talk of enlightenment, the form of the Buddha in whatever color, whatever the form, that is just the Buddha's form. The real meaning of enlightenment is when we are able to see everything in the world, what we see, the sounds that we hear, experiences that we go through, and understand that many of the experiences and the definitions we have and experience we go through, they are reflection of our own concept. Happiness is a reflection of your concept. Success is a definition of your concept. The most successful person in the world, most richest person, if you ask a monkey, that monkey doesn't know about Elon Musk, even though we do, even in Nepal, right? So, the most, in terms of a definition of the beauty, also changes throughout the history. That definition has changes. Fashion has changed. All of we are living, basically, we are experiencing the world through our concept. And that concept also makes us sometimes feel superior. Because we feel superior, we at the same time see others as inferior. And because we see others as a superior, we also feel inferior. We lack confidence. We look down upon ourselves. our life, our achievement, and feel that we are nothing, we achieved nothing, and go through a lot of mental trauma, that too is a reflection of our own concept. So that is why enlightenment doesn't necessarily mean going to some place or some sort of form, but to understanding this conceptual, illusory, and how we are trapped. And one who is free of that is called the enlightened one, and that state of mind is called the enlightenment. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you all very much.
I'll try again. We have 3 questions up on the screen. This is an opportunity, in fact, a test of whether you have been listening to the talk properly or not. And we also have an opportunity for 10 individuals who give the best response to receive a surprise gift at the closing of the EDC. So we have the 3 questions. Can we have the questions on the screen, please? The 3 questions for your information are, question number 1, what new insights did you gain from the Art of Generosity talk? Question number 2, how do these insights impact your life? And question number 3, how will you bring these insights into your daily life? So what you would like you to do is go back this evening, think about the talk, and then respond to these 3 questions and take the chance to win 3 surprise gifts.
I think I just want to add a few more words. One thing I forgot to mention, which I think is important. There is, in the Buddha's teaching, it is said that the 3 individuals, one was a king, and when he received the teaching, he offered a palace to the Buddha, and one was an ordinary person, he offered a noodle to the Buddha, and the third one was a very poor person who can't afford a noodle, and he picked up a branch of dried grass, made it into a lamp, and offered to Buddha. And all of them got equally enlightened, because now that we understand that enlightenment means illusory, free from illusory concept, that means that Buddhas are free from the definition of someone has given me more money, this is more valuable, this is cheap. But the value is defined by individuals. For someone who doesn't have a lot, even a small means a lot. That is why when we are practicing generosity in relation to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, it is not the value that matters, it's your intention that matters. And this is something that I would like to highlight, because we are living in a Himalayan community, and I think it is very important for us to know that our wealth will never define our ability to practice the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha and be a good human being. Thank you.